So I have these three knives here, and I previously made these top two, and this third one I just finished. The top two, one I'm going to keep, and let's see if I can get a little bit closer view for you what they look like. One I'm going to keep and one I'm going to sell probably, but they're all the same. About 3.5 inch blade, 5160 steel, 3/16 inch thick. Has the file work, the forge work, the same grind. Everything's the same. The handle length is about 4.5, and everything is as close as possible, including, which is really important, the heat treat. And so I have this handle just slightly different shape, but pretty much the same knife, and they're just really beautiful knives. But what I really wanted to do is see how much they can stand up to. So most knife makers will test their knives in some way or another. So I thought I'd make a third knife the same way, same heat treat, same thickness, same style, same grind, everything. I put a cheaper handle on it because I'm going to test this one to the max. I'm going to do a bend test on it, and it'll probably break. I'm hoping that it will last, but we don't know. I made a list of things that I'm going to do. I'm going to start with the easiest things on the knife, things that the knife can cut and not probably hurt it at all, to the point of where it should be destroyed in most likelihood. So this is going to be the test knife, and I'm going to keep the other two nice and pristine. So I'll get this set up here, and I'll work on this log all the time, except for the bend test, which I'll have to take to the vise. So let me put these two up, get this out of the way. And then let's start it. So I got this list made up, like I said. And just like Forge and Fire, you try to do things, mainly what a knife maker wants to do is test it for what it's made for. And so I'll do that first and show you that it works well, that it cuts well, and at all the different stages I'll try to show you close-ups of the edge. It is really sharp. Oops. I keep goofing up on this. There we go. Anyway, it's really sharp, and let's hope that it continues to be sharp on the easy test. And I got a list here going down to the very worst of the tests, where you're not worried about what the knife can do to the material, like in Forge and Fire. It's what the material will do to the knife. So the first thing I'm going to do is just going to make a feather stick, and this is a bushcraft knife, and so that's what it's made to do, is bushcraft skills type stuff. And of course it makes a feather stick real easy. This is a high Scandi grind. It's 8 degrees on each side, which makes it a nice nice grind, nice one with a secondary edge, so it's nice and strong. Batoning, I'm not sure if you can see all of the stick in here. I'll do it this way on another piece of wood down here lower. But normal batoning does just fine. I got to keep looking at my list here to make sure I'm following it. Make a pot hook groove for, let's say, you're cooking and you want to hang a pot. Seem to be all thumbs tonight. I'll get her here. This is kind of green wood, so it shouldn't be any problem doing it. It's actually pretty slippery. Knife's doing fine. I'm the one that's not doing the greatest. There we go. I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to show you what it can do. Normal stuff here. That would probably work for a pothook bail there now. Hang it right there. So my poor little knife's getting a little bit dirty. Anyway, other things. Make a bow drill divot. So a lot of us bushcrafters do bow drill, and here's an example of it's a sycamore. Anymore, making a divot which will test your point out a little bit. There we go. I'm an avid bow driller, so make the divot, and then of course you need to make the notch. The sycamore is pretty tough. I usually saw my divots, to tell you the truth. That seems to work better. Doesn't take as long. It's a little bit harder wood. It's a little bit harder too. Now this is pretty thick stuff, this metal, 3/16 inch thick. So it's not a delicate knife, and it should take a lot of abuse. There we go. And of course my hole would be in there deeper. I'll get it going, just kind of show you. And I can cut through this hardwood. One thing I do to check sharpness on wood is also, I do it on paracord. I'll take and how easy it cuts a piece of paracord. Tells me a lot about the knife too. But there's the divot, and it feels really sharp still. I'm going to cut my list up here, it's the only problem. So that's a divot in a fireboard. Strike a fire steel. I'll zip over there pretty soon and get one of those, but let's chop some limbs here. It should be a good chopper. And of course you want it to take off the limbs as well. And that takes off 2 or 3 at a time. That's kind of nice. Now this is fairly normal stuff that you do with a knife. Feels nice and sharp still. Getting in the bigger stuff there, but did a nice job. So that's chopping, delimbing a knife. Cut some rope on the table here. I didn't get just any old rope. I got this huge piece. This is about 1 1/4 inch, 1 1/8, something like that. Nice and neatly cut through that. Where'd my water bottle go? And the next thing is to cut a water bottle. This really feeling nice and sharp still. This probably won't cut the water bottle too good. It's not a knife to do that. So I'll try to aim toward the top. Let me see if the water bottle's in focus. Yep. Oh, it did really good. So I cut the water bottle nicely. Got everything wet. Hopefully the phone's dry. It is a little bit, did get a little bit wet, but anyway, did that fine. My list is a little bit wet. It's about time for a commercial, I think, here, huh? Let me go get my fire steel. It's just right behind us here. I got a kit here. I must have one in here somewhere. Here's some paracord to try. Well, of all things, don't have my fire steel in there. Well, commercial 2. Sorry about that, folks. That was more organized than that. All of my bushcraft knives have a 90-degree edge on them too, so it will strike a fire steel really well. And you see that did that just fine. Now if I can read my notes, debark a limb. So if I chose this, say, which is way too large for you, well, you can see that. Normally you'd use a hatchet, of course. Now we're getting into the stuff where you may not do this with a normal knife. This is that pine. It's really got a lot of resin in it. So I'm kind of scraping off the resin first, it looks like. But it does a fine job there, making a mess, of course. Let's see how sharp it looks here. It's looking really dirty now. You may be able to see the edge okay. Let me go get another piece of good paper. Just check the sharpness again. I can hold it. That's really nice. You want to, when you cut a piece of paper, you want it not to have any ragged edges. Shows a little bit of ragged edge right there, but not bad. I'm kind of the world's worst paper cutter anyway. So let's see the next thing here. It's still sharp. Baton cross grain. So got a dead limb here, and this is getting to the point where you don't usually do this, but it worked well. Let's do it with this other piece here too. It's a little green, and that works even better, of course, with the green wood. Man, feels really sharp still. It's looking really good, folks. I'm pretty tickled at the normal type of bushcraft stuff that you would do, which is woodwork, fire steel, cutting notches, cutting limbs, cutting whatever wood type project that you might have. Let's get a little bit bigger stuff here. This is, yeah, it shows up. It's a little bit bigger piece of wood than you normally use this knife for. And I can't get in it there, so I'm going to take a little smaller piece of it. Get another piece here, a little bit bigger. Now let's do the twist on it, see if it takes that. Yeah, nice. Handle's holding up good. I didn't do the handle particularly neat and nice. Just good enough to hold on to. Hopefully you saw that. Let me do it once more, where you can get a nice thin piece. Now you see the top of it? Yep. I don't know if I got enough to I don't think I can twist that much of it, so I'm gonna have to go and take a little bit of a side cut here, right like this. There we go. Anyway, it does that nicely. Got a splinter in my finger, but I won't take it out right now. Oh, next thing is a thicker water bottle. This is a, well, I don't know. Anyway, it's thicker plastic. Let's see how it cuts it. Real nice. You have to poke into it first to get it started. Don't want to cut myself, but let's take a look at the edge here. Shows a little bit of dulling right there now, I think. That rope and that probably did a little bit of stuff to it. Yeah, it's not quite as sharp. Well, guess not. Cuts really good still. One way the paper cuts better than the other. Maybe somebody could voice their opinion on that. I gotta hold it right here. So it's a little bit duller, but not very much at all. It still cuts really well. I don't see any dings in it anywhere. There's no notches or nothing like that. It's holding up really well. So let's look at the next thing we have to do here, if I can find my list, my soggy list. Oh yeah, this is going to be a good one. Baton, a 1/4 inch copper tubing. This could be fun. Okay. So this definitely is something you don't do with a regular knife. And there it went. So it looks like it squishes it and then it cuts it. And let's look at the blade. Yeah, it looks fine. It's actually pretty darn sharp there still. Okay, next on the list. Gatorade bottle, I got that. Pry test. Tip in the wood. So this is one that a lot of people don't do because it's not exactly preferred thing. Plus you don't want to hit the end of your knife, and I can't get it deep enough. This is juniper, so it's fairly hard wood. Get it down deep enough. Oh, I split it. There we go. So the tip looks good. I purposely put just a hair more bevel on the tip, and then it comes down to a pretty sudden point in the backside, but it's still really thin to get nice and sharp. So the pry test worked. Now we're getting into some more heavy stuff, I think. Yeah, the bend test and the vise is about it. So I'm trying to think of anything else that we've forgot. It batons well, cuts well, delimbs well, it chops well. Here's a piece of cord that goes through it good. This is, of course, pretty easy to cut anyway, but it still, you know, cuts stuff that's more delicate. Feels really good, folks. I'm really tickled that it's starting to, it's looking good for all the tests that abusive tests that you do, and the tough tests. The test that's coming up is the clincher, how well my heat treat really is. If it breaks, I want to take a look at the grain size and see what it looks like and the makeup of it. If it bends, then I'll really be tickled. I'm gonna have to turn off the camera to do the bend test, and that's of course the exciting part. But as you can see, it really looks unharmed. Let me kind of rotate a little bit here so you can see it better. Yeah, and it has a nice grip to it. Plus you got the grooves up here that I made. You put your fingers there for a different type of jimping, a bigger jimping, of course, the file work. But you could work up on it and do some skinning with it that way with the file work. Anyway, I'm talking on. The exciting part's coming up. I'm gonna turn you off, and then I'll turn the camera on to the bend test, and we'll see if it gets destroyed or not.